right, happy Monday. Today we are starting our next unit. This is our last unit of the school year, and it's going to be like a kind of a small like intro to matrices. Matrices are really important. They can be very helpful for future things that you guys are learning, and the cool part is that a lot of it we are going to show you how to do it on the calculator. So we'll start calculator stuff probably I think next week. So today we're just going to focus on what we can do like by hand, what is a matrix, basic properties of matrices, things like that, just like a nice introduction. For those of you who are AP testing, we're trying to keep the next 2 weeks pretty relatively light. So just get it done when you can. Don't stress about it. We know that you're AP testing and we want you to do really good on your AP test. So get to this when you can. Like I said, we kept it very light, I think, for the first 2 weeks so that you guys could kind of catch up and figure out what was going on. But yeah, so today should be a pretty good day. We're just kind of going over basic terminology, what is a matrix, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think this should be a pretty good next couple weeks for you guys. I think matrices are really fun. I like that we cover matrices, and they're definitely something that you can use in the future to make things that you're dealing with in math a bit easier, I guess is probably better. All right, I will turn it over to Miss Markert, and she can give you guys some matrices details.
Yeah, so today we are, like Miss Leslie said, just kind of giving you a nice little intro to matrices. I don't think any of you have seen these before. So we're just gonna kind of talk about what it is, talk about some of the terminology associated with it. And then tomorrow we'll get into actually like using them and doing some fun things with them. So a matrix. A matrix is an array of data. And it looks like this. So if you have A and it's a matrix, you use your square brackets. And then we have columns and we have rows. Like that. And obviously they're numbers, not lines, but you know, just to show you guys. A lot of people like to use matrices for it's to store data. A lot of you guys who are in computer science and kind of that field, you'll see matrices a lot. So if you are thinking that you're going to go into that field, or already in that field, this is the unit for you. We classify matrices, so we kind of tell you kind of what they are. We classify them by the number of rows and whatever that was, and number of columns.
Just remember, guys, rows go side to side, columns go up and down. All right.
Yep.
Everybody gets these two mixed up. It's fine. I remember it because columns are tall. Okay. So when I think of which one is which, columns to me are tall. So they're the ones that go vertically. Everybody gets it mixed up, but you can't. It's the number one rule of matrices. You have to know rows go side to side, columns go up and down. So just be careful, because it's columns in this next thing Miss Markert's going to tell you.
Yeah, you have to know which ones are which. And if you look, I don't know if this would help anyone, but columns has an L, and L's go up and down. So maybe that'll help you. Rows do not, so they have to be the other one by default, but I don't know. Okay, so yes, so it's very important that you remember, because when you classify matrices, you have to put rows first. So in this case, I put 3 rows in our matrices. And then you put the little X, so like when you have, when you're doing dimensions like length times width and stuff like that, you put the little X in, and then you put columns next. So we have 2 columns in this example right here. So that is a 3x2 matrix. So again, you have to know which one is which, because rows has to come first. And for some other things we're going to do later on, you have to know which is which. So whatever you have to do to remember which one is which, do that. If you have a good tip, let other people know too, because maybe they're confused as well. Okay, so we're just going to go over some terminology. I have a really quick example for you guys, and then your homework is super easy. I think it's like 7 questions, not even. It shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes, hopefully. Super, super easy, just kind of getting a handle on what all this means. So the first thing we need to talk about in the matrix is the element, and that's just an object in the matrix. Usually they're numbers. In this class, it will be numbers in a matrix. For example, if you have element A, 3, 2, this is the element in spot row 3. Sorry, I don't know what's happening to my voice this morning. Row 3, column 2. So again, it's really important that you know which one is which. Row will always come first. So row 3, column 2. So in our little example, little picture that we drew up here, row 3, column 2 would be that one. Cool. Okay, and then order of a matrix. This is classification of a matrix. Matrix. Also, if you hear talking in the background, that's my mom. She's in a meeting, and you know the Wi-Fi struggle is real. So again, we go row by column. So matrix A up above here that we just did, that is a 3 by 2 matrix, and that is the order of the matrix. So that's how we tell that. So 3 by 2, just like that. And then a square matrix, you can probably guess by definition of a square. It's a matrix with the same number of rows and columns, because that is what a square is. Same number of rows and columns. So that would be a matrix like 2 rows, 2 columns, and you have a square matrix. Straightforward. If it has the same number of rows and columns, it's a square matrix. Okay. Now we have an example. So let's do this. Sorry. Typing matrices on the computer is super complicated, and I was too lazy to figure out how to do it, so we're writing it out. Or not too lazy, but didn't want to. Okay, so there's our matrix. We have matrix A. So let's figure out the order of our matrix. So order, so we have 2 rows, like so. So again, rows come first, so 2. And then we have 1, 2, 3 columns, so 2 by 3. And then since it doesn't have the same number of rows and columns, it is not a square matrix, so not a square matrix. And then the last thing we're going to find is element A, 2, 3. So again, row comes first, column comes last. So when you come up here, we need to find row 2. Sorry, see, even I'm getting confused. So column 2, so it's this bottom one right here. And then row 3, which is this one. So right there. So right where they intersect. So A2, 3 is 4. Just like that. And that is essentially all that your homework is tonight. Yeah, you're just putting all that into practice. That's basically it.
Yep, that is basically it. Main thing to take away, guys, order is just how we're classifying matrices. Most matrices are labeled using capital letters. So we have like matrix A, we have matrix B, C, and so on. And so when you see Miss Margaret write like lowercase a 2, 3. She's talking about matrix A because the lowercase letters represent the elements inside the matrix. So if this was matrix B, she would be using a lowercase b with the subscript of her row and column. So pretty simple. Matrices really aren't that tough. The only question people seem to have is, well, Miss Lastly, what if there were, because like right now, if you look at it, like we have lowercase a, 2, 3. How do I know that that's not 23, that's a 2 and a 3? Matrices that have that have 10 or more rows where you have double digits, I've seen it 2 ways. I've seen it with a comma in between. If it's like double digit, like number of rows and columns, they'll do like a comma between the rows and columns. Sometimes they also just do a space. So you can see like you have the first chunk and then a significant space in the second chunk of numbers for your column. We are only going to be dealing with matrices that have less than 10 rows and 10 columns. So the first number is always going to represent your number of rows, and your second number is always going to represent the number of columns in your matrix. So we're not going to have any double-digit rows and columns. That would be insane.
I don't think I've ever done, and I have a math major, I don't think I've ever done any double digit.
No. I mean, it just gets ridiculous when you have that many rows and columns. It's not like it's impossible. It's just who wants to do it. Only if you were running an extreme situation with a collection of data would you ever want to do that. But we aren't doing that in here. It's just a basic intro of matrices. So just keep in mind, first number is your rows, second number is your columns when you're talking about order. Everything else should be pretty easy. I think you guys are going to have a really easy time with today's homework. And hopefully that was clear for you guys. If not, you can always just Google matrices. They're pretty much everywhere. And I don't know, we're doing pretty basic stuff. So that is it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more matrices. Nothing too crazy. I think we're just adding and subtracting matrices tomorrow, so that should be fun.
Scalar multiplication.
Oh, and scalar multiplication. But yeah, so hopefully you guys liked our first day intro, and we will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.